Special shout out to Nathan for the $50 donation. Thank you, Pookie. And Austin for the $10 donation. Thank you guys so much. Hi, my name is Sammy, professional yapper. Please address me as such. If you couldn't tell by everything about ASG, a lot of us like yapping about topics that no one will ever care about. We thought it would be a good idea to give time to some of our cast to yap about their favorite topics. Please enjoy our Fireside Chats.
Well, thank you, professional yapper. So, I figured for my little fireside chat, I can talk to you guys about Marvel vs. Capcom because I have a lot to bring to the table. So, Marvel vs. Capcom, right? You may have seen me talk about it briefly on the show. And by briefly, I do mean briefly because, oh my gosh, there is so much more to it than what I have mentioned in my 2 MVC videos. So why do I yap so much about Marvel vs. Capcom? Well, for one, it's one of the best fighting games to ever exist. You have one of the ultimate fighting game developers, Capcom, partnered with some of the flashiest and marvelous, no pun intended, characters of all of entertainment, Marvel, and seeing characters from both multiverses whipping and dipping and jumping and crushing everything in their path with maximum triple-digit combos. And not much can be objected by that for sure. But funny enough, however, while these 2 companies went through a rocky history, it wasn't always like that. See, back in the mid-90s, Spider-Man and X-Men were basically the only super prevalent franchises Marvel had, kind of, because a lot of the other franchises were more B-tier, and Marvel honestly couldn't market Guardians of the Galaxy to save their life, but that's neither here nor there. But as for Capcom, not only was the arcade scene starting to be overthrown, but they were also being overtaken by the likes of Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and SNK, other fighting game franchises. So bringing light to both franchises in this particular way made a lot of sense, because it actually started out with Capcom making X-Men and Marvel superhero fighting games, and then eventually crossing over. We got X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. All of these games were considered high-class fighters by plenty, especially Marvel's 1 and 2. Heck, even Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had a very successful run that was a big gateway for the MCU franchise as well. We also got Marvel Origins on the PS3 and 360, which is basically Marvel Superheroes and Marvel 1, and it was a great package. Then we got Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and it was simply a disaster. It played pretty well, but honestly, Capcom no longer had licensing for a lot of the big Marvel characters like X-Men and Deadpool, and most of what Fox's catalog was. The entire roster was extremely limiting, which also led to the delisting of Marvel Origins because of the characters. And plus, the game budget in general was just not that high, so the game looked very, very rough to say the least. And the Infinity Stone mechanic was honestly not very fleshed out. The game underperformed hard, and we've all seen, and the only thing that has come out of it since then was a Marvel 2 re-release being shown at Evo 2020 on the arcade 1-up cabinets and whatnot. But outside of those instances, we have never really seen anything new from MVC, and honestly, it almost made too much sense why for the longest time. Until June of this year, when we got the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, and all 6 of the classic MVC titles were bundled together, in addition to The Punisher, which is another fun beat-em-up that I recommend you guys check out in the collection. I was so freaking happy, and it truly felt like a loved one I and millions of others had was brought back, and I really damn near cried. Marvel and Capcom finally came to terms and gave the fans what we have been wanting for a very long time, and the franchise is back in full swing, and now I'm really hoping we see a Marvel vs. Capcom 4. That's all for my fireside chat, y'all. Thank you very much.
All right, my turn. Also, shout out to my Uncle John for donating $100 when we were off the air. So thank you, Uncle John. But I'm gonna get started with one of my favorite games of all time, Baldur's Gate 3. So Baldur's Gate 3 is one of my favorite games of all time for many, many reasons. One of them is just the characters feel so real. They have their flaws, their nuances, their ups and downs. Karlach's story is so heart-wrenching, with her finding out that she has to die from either her heart blowing up or going back to the realm where she was enslaved. That crushed me. The grappling with humanity of the situation, it hurts, but in a good way. And Astarion's story of him overcoming his abuse from his vampiric master destroys me every time I see it. Shadowheart overcoming her brainwashing from Shar. Just all of these characters are so well done. Lae'zel, Will, got Minthara, just the entire party have amazing stories. There's also just so much depth for this game. I have gone through so many playthroughs. I've sunk like 200 plus hours into this game, and I'm still discovering more and more things. I am not joking. I still haven't found the rune powder barrel in the Underdark. I can't find it. I've looked up the coordinates, I can't find it. But I also love the work that the voice actors do outside of the game with how they partnered with High Rollers to do a D&D podcast with their characters. It got so popular, they added a voice line in to the actual game referencing a Joe character named Bing Bong, which is so funny to me. And just, this game is one of my favorite games of all time because I got to interact with Maggie Robertson, the voice actor for Orin the Red from Baldur's Gate 3 and Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil. She was so nice and such an amazing person to interview. And because of Baldur's Gate, I wouldn't have had the confidence to even approach her. And my favorite character is Astarion. He's been my lock screen for months, and I mean months, like it's insane. But because of his story, it's just been so inspirational to me. He goes from serving this horrible man to rising up out of that abuse and freeing himself from it. His battle with his self-esteem and viewing himself as more than just a body to be used, like how he was told for hundreds of years, is one that I hold close to my heart. And Neil Newbin, the voice actor for Astarion, is so passionate about the character that it makes it impossible not to love him. Overall, this game just means a lot to me. I would recommend you go play it if you haven't already. Thank you for listening.
I get to take a seat now. Oh, we have a donation. We have a donation from Ryan Prorock, who's in the studio right now, actually, if you want to say hi, Ryan. For those who don't know, Ryan is a previous showrunner for All Systems Go 2. He's the senior who's here today, so thank you for joining us today. So, for my Fireside Chat, I actually wanted to take some time to talk about the absolute masterpiece that is actually Halo 3. And for some context, I got into Halo thanks to my dad, who owned an original Xbox, and he had a copy of Halo 2, which I believe is one of the best video games of all time, like the best. Like, one of the earliest memories I have is watching my dad play the beginning of Cairo Station, which is the intro to Halo 2. And also, to go off script a little bit, I remember also just playing a bunch of the other missions in Halo 2, for example, like when the Covenant invaded Earth, but that's irrelevant. But to me, Halo 3 holds such a unique place in my heart that it puts Halo 2 below that. So I want to talk about why I absolutely love Halo 3. Now, for starters, Halo 3 takes place directly after the events of Halo 2, which is funny because all of the events in the Bungie Halo trilogy take place less than a week. It takes place within a week. So it's 3 days, I believe, between Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 3. So, and it's the conclusion of the entire trilogy in regards to the Master Chief, because, you know, we have other games such as, you know, for example, ODST and Reach, which also did come out from Bungie, but with the Master Chief as the main character, this acts as a unique send-off to the character for Bungie, where eventually we would get 343 writing it. So the Covenant are searching for something underneath Africa, and the UNSC and elites are forming an unlikely alliance that's, you know, crossing over from Halo 2. And besides the threat of the Prophet of Truth, who's controlling an entire Covenant armada, the Flood, which is the oldest prevalent threat in all of Halo, are still acting as a massive threat, and it's more apparent in Halo 3 than it was in Halo 2. Now, I want to actually talk about the missions, because the missions is where a lot of the story is derived from. So the entire mission ensemble of Halo 3 is perfect. It's one of my favorite things. It incorporates a lot of unique environments and different mechanics for each one. So for example, you'll start, you know, you'll have these close encounters in the jungle, and then you'll be fighting actual scarabs, which are these giant, you know, perambulating machines, which are really cool, and they're in an open arena. Now, perhaps the best example I can give of this would actually be the final assault on Truth on the cartographer in the mission The Covenant. Now, he's going to fire off the Halo rings, which are going to exterminate all life in the galaxy. So you literally storm a beach to take down these barrier beacons and shut down a shield, and then you will officially start storming the actual facility before Truth fires off those rings. So after you shut down the 3 arrays, you'll fight these 2 scarabs that are in a giant open field, and you have to take a flying ship, which is a Hornet as they're called, and you have to land on the scarabs, and you have to go inside them and take out the cores. Now, you have to do this before the scarab blows up, because once you destroy the core, the scarab will go into a self-destruct timer, and then you have to deal with 1 more scarab after you defeat the first one. So after you defeat the 2 scarabs, you'll go into a facility and realize that it's too late. Truth has already begun to start to fire off the rings, and all life in the entire galaxy is about to die. But then, out of nowhere, you form it's an extremely unlikely ally with the Flood, who are going to guide you to the council, and then Keith David, who plays the Arbiter, drops the hardest one-liner in all of Halo. It's great. It's fantastic. You gotta listen to it. It's great. Now, I want to talk about the multiplayer, considering it's also fantastic as well. There's a versatility of map mechanics, and the Elephant vehicle, which was only available in 1 map, but it's fantastic. It's like a mini base that you can drive around. But each map was unique in how you can play due to the physics of, say, for example, launching the flag from a booster on Valhalla. But perhaps one of my favorite things to come out of the multiplayer would actually have to be the red versus blue seasons based on Halo 3, as they had some of the best writing and the most versatility of the entire series. Now, I do not acknowledge the other seasons past Season 13, because all that could have been better, but rest in peace, Rooster Teeth. But perhaps some of my favorite memories from playing multiplayer would have to be the fun memories that I made playing Griffball and Forge, because those were the absolute best items. Now, Forge, for those who don't know, was the mode where you can create maps with unique mechanics, and that would be later improved upon in later entries such as Halo 4 and Halo 5. But for Griffball, it's a square arena, tiny square arena, where you have to run from one side to the other with a ball, and the other teams are going to try and bash you with gravity hammers. So it's absolutely fantastic. But to conclude, I want to thank my dad for getting me into one of my favorite games to replay every once in a while for the Master Chief Collection. And I want to thank my mom for not getting mad at my dad for letting me play an M for Mature game. I love you guys, and I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much.
All right, it's my turn, and I'm going to talk about the sad state of my favorite anime. For many people, they grew up with shonen anime such as Bleach, Naruto, or Dragon Ball Z, but none has caught my eyes as much as the Toaru franchise. This year is my favorite anime's franchise's 20th anniversary, with the launch of the first volume of Certain Magical Index light novel in 2004. The franchise is known as Toaru, or a certain franchise for short. The story of Index follows a boy named Kamijo Toma, who has the power to negate any supernatural ability in his right hand, as he tries to stop conflicts spun from science and magic clashing. Basically, the series is mostly about science versus magic. Currently, there are 3 light novel series for Index, which are called Old Testament, New Testament, and Genesis Testament, respectively. The series is very popular in Japan and China, which led to many spin-offs. However, this series never gained that much popularity in the West. But what is sadder is that the 20th anniversary of Toaru has been really disappointing. Not a lot has happened this year for the series. There is no news regarding a new season of the main series, Index, nor its ongoing spin-offs, A Certain Scientific Railgun and A Certain Scientific Accelerator. It has been 4 years since the last season of the anime in this franchise. Also, there is also no news regarding other spin-offs being adapted into anime forms. In fact, the only animations that came out of this year were exclusive to pachinko machines. And the light novels that came out this year have been rather controversial. The 2024 volumes are A Certain Magical Index, Genesis Testament 10 and 11, which did something controversial to the main character. I will not say what happened, as it is a massive spoiler, but doing those things to Toma on the 20th anniversary is bizarre. What you need to know is that those decisions polarize the fans. Moreover, the Japan exclusive mobile game, A Certain Magical Index, Imaginary Fest, is shutting down after 5 years. Many Toru fans are outraged with the anniversary, and this is on the top of the ongoing frustration in the fandom. Since it was adapted into anime form, that the spin-off anime, A Certain Scientific Railgun, is more popular than the main series and is adapted better. The Railgun manga series is also not doing well, as the title character of the spin-off, Misaka Mikoto, is not the main focus of the current arc of the manga. It is really frustrating year to be a Toru fan, but I still hope for a better future for this series. And thank you for listening.
That was really loud. We have another donation. Annemarie says it is her dad, so thank you for donating.
Thanks, Dad and Uncle Joe.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my eyes don't work. I can't read that from here.
$113 total.
That is a lot of money. $113. Okay. Am I good to do my thing now? Okay. I have recently been reminiscing about being a 7-year-old. When I was in 2nd grade, a friend of mine introduced me to a collectible card game called Bella Sara. Unlike most trading card games, such as Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh!, the game of Bella Sara wasn't a tabletop game, but perhaps more equivalent to Webkins or Neopets. Bella Sara was conceptualized in 2005 by Gita Otter Brandgard in an attempt to create a trading card game that appealed to young girls, since her daughters, Sarah and Freya, weren't exactly very interested in other trading card games like the ones that her son enjoyed. Initially, she created a card series that she just simply called Bella, which was the name of Sarah's first horse, which she released this series through a company that she founded called Concept Card. In 2006, the first series of Bella Sara cards was released. Each card would feature an illustration of a horse, eventually also including Pegasi and Hippocampi, which are like mermaid horses basically, with an inspirational phrase as a caption. And if I'm being honest, it's kind of like reading a fortune cookie if you read a lot of those little like caption things. And I just realized I haven't been holding this up. This is a box that I got recently. Anyway, the most interesting part was that each card had a secret code that you could enter on the Bella Sara website and unlock access to virtual horses and other activities and rewards. After the release of the 9th series, Treasures, which is actually one of these, individual cards no longer had their own codes, and instead each pack had a special code card of one of the 3 rarities, bronze, silver, or gold, and the amount of rewards you would get would vary. And the website, the Bella Sara website, was the heart of the franchise. I remember unlocking the different horses and interacting with them in the stables was a lot of fun for me. I distinctly recall some of my favorites being some of the hippocampi I unlocked from what I think were probably promotional cards. In addition to the stables, there were online mini games as well as an adventure game, which they very creatively titled Belisara Adventures, where you could explore the world of Belisara, which was called North of North. One of the things I miss most about this franchise, though, is it's just such a great example of like the late 2000s to early 2010s like children's internet culture. I feel like websites used to have so much more content and like personality because they had like desktop wallpapers, most of which were like aspect ratio 4:3, which isn't exactly great for modern day monitors, but it is the exact aspect ratio my iPad Air has. There were coloring pages, card checklists, activity pages, and mini posters. And so around the release of Series 15 Spring Carnival in 2011, I personally started to drift away from the Belisara franchise because I discovered, actually through the same friend, this other little trading card game that you might have heard of. It's called Pokemon. I have a couple cards from the series after Spring Carnival, which was called Summer Camp, but I don't have any from any of the 4 that would follow after that. And by August of 2013, Concept Card had declared bankruptcy and would shut down around 6 months later, being replaced by a new company founded also by Gita. But in April of 2020, the classic Belisara website was shut down, taking the stables and the adventure game with it due to the inability to port old functions without Adobe Flash, because the death of the internet when Flash got. At this time, Gita claimed the site would receive frequent updates, but it literally has not been updated at all in the 4 years since then, which is a bit of an unfortunate ending to the saga, but the series will live on in the fond memories of those of us who got to enjoy it while it lasted, as well as in the Belisara Revival Project, a fan-run project to recreate as much of the lost content as possible.
Congrats, looks like we have another donation. And thanks again to Annemarie's uncles who were able to donate $200. Huh? Where does it say?
That's the Dino family. That's my aunt and uncle.
Oh yeah, that is really small font, you're right. Okay. All right, let's start this thing. Well, for my fireside chat, I actually had a lot of trouble coming up with an idea, not because I didn't have anything I wanted to talk about, but because it gets kind of tricky for me to talk about something that I'm passionate about for less than 5 minutes. On that note, however, after a good amount of thinking, I decided that I'd talk about arguably my favorite Nintendo Switch game, Pokemon Legends Arceus. First of all, Legends Arceus was a groundbreaking step for the franchise, as not only was it starting to poke at open-world physics for the series, but also strayed drastically from Pokemon's usual gym-based format by essentially isekaiing the player character back to ancient Japan. Furthermore, not only do the battle and capture mechanics get notably modified, but throughout the entire game there's a feeling of genuine life-and-death stakes, as while you don't have a life count by any means, you as a character have to fight in order to both survive in the wild areas of Hisui and Sinnoh and keep your place in the Galaxy team so you're not exiled outside the village. Aside from the stakes, in my opinion at least, the graphics and storytelling made this game absolutely beautiful. The plot and lore of Hisui and its cast makes it so that you can't really afford to just skip all the dialect, and the twists and turns that occur in the story were able to lead to some of the hardest and most unexpected battles in Pokemon history. I won't say exactly which ones for the sake of spoilers, but if you've played it, then you know which ones I'm talking about. But that's not even the best part of the plot. In my opinion, the most unexpected and ingenious aspect would be that technically, for most of the story, it has 7 different plots going on simultaneously, and each plot has its own intriguing conclusion. You have the main plot, which requires you having to stop the rip in space-time that sent you to Hisui in the first place, and then the post-game where you have to collect the remaining Arceus plates, which are special items that help give the legendary Pokemon, mythical Pokemon, additional powers. After that, you have to complete the Pokédex in order to battle Arceus, so if nothing else, you will actually be able to solo a Pokédex without the need of another game, a trend that's consistent in the Pokemon series. And then comes the 4 subplots that I personally really enjoyed. First of all, you have the 2 scavenger hunts that are needed to fill the Pokédex, the one where you find all the letter like unknown that gets scattered across the region, and the one where you have to find all the mysterious purple will-o-wisps that allow you to capture Spiritomb, and what, in my opinion at least, was quite honestly arguably the saddest cutscene in the entire game. Then you have the two that technically aren't key to the plot, but when you have nothing left to do after beating the game, well, they're good ways to spend your time. First off, you can find all the old mysterious letters that are scattered across the region, all of which are actually really kind of spooky when you find all 20 of them and read them as a whole. And or you can try to find and translate all the petroglyphs in the game, of which there are 6 scattered throughout the region, and aka the mysterious ancient drawings that appear, like I said, across the region. Despite looking like random additions in the game, they actually can be translated to reveal hidden messages, and all the clues are available to you throughout the playthrough. But for the sake of spoilers, I won't say much more for the sake of, well, like I said, spoilers in time. Anyway, I could honestly go on about this game for hours, but my overall fact and opinion is that, personally, it's really great, and to top it all off, I'm extremely excited to see where the series is heading with next year's release of Pokemon Legends ZA. Anywho, that's my little chat. So who's next?
It's me. I'm next. Is that like a donation sound, or is that... I'm assuming it's just, okay, that was just for funsies. Hello all, I have returned. For those new viewers, my name is Jenny, and I'm the showrunner for All Systems Go. I'm quite excited for my Fireside Chat, because I love talking. Out of all of my interests, I decided to talk about Love Live School Idol Festival. I'm not much of a gamer, whether it be my lack of access to platforms or my skill, because I'm pretty trash. However, I do love a rhythm game. I also love a mobile game. Aside from gaming, I also happen to love the Love Live series, as longtime viewers will know from that cursed snow halation video. When you bring those 3 topics together, you get Love Live School Idol Festival. I am lame, so I wasn't there for the original Love Live School Idol Festival game, but I was there for Love Live School Idol Festival All-Stars. Its flashier but lamer younger sister. I started playing SIFAS, School Idol Festival All-Stars is what that means, in 2021 after I discovered the freedom of data hogging gacha games. In my defense, they have the fun songs and the fun choreography, and I can even get them in different outfits. Fun fact, if you got specific subgroups together in your formations, they might even have extra special voice lines and animations for combos. Unfortunately, the SIFAS servers were shut down on June 30th, 2023. Though a lot of School Idol Festival purists look down on All-Stars, I still thought the game was super engaging. Unlike School Idol Festival, any note, perfectly timed or not, would drain stamina, which required more statistical work than just like, ooh, I like Cowboy Reen on this card. Though, I mean, the Energy of Muse card is very beautiful. Since the School Idol Festival and All-Stars servers shut down in 2023, School Idol Festival 2 came out in 2023, and then it died in 2024. So I'm not really hopeful for another legendary game to steal my heart. Though, if you're fiending for content, you can play Love Live Paradise for the PS Vita, or Love Live School Idol Festival After School Activity on the PS4, or even Yohane the Parhelion Nuzumu in the Mirage on the PC, the Switch, and the PS4 and 5 if you're really dying for some of that Love Live content. One thing that All-Stars did really well was sound effects with the gameplay. Whenever you had to do different holds or whatnot, there'd be like this like sparkly glitter sound and confetti would pop up on the screen. I showed Darian last night and he said it was like crack for your brain, so I don't think I'm crazy. But since it was a rhythm game, it would be on time with the music, which really added the fun to playing it. There really wasn't a point of me saying this other than getting to talk about the game I really loved and I thought it was awesome. And finally, to flex, I want to say that I had at least 39 idolized ultra rare cards before the game shut down. Any whoosies, that ends up my little 5 seconds of talking for now. But Wyatt, take it away. Ooh, money! Who is it? Do you have a donation?
Yeah. 1 second.
I'm waiting. It's Les's grandma? Thank you, Les's grandma. Woo! Thank you so much for donating. Yay! All right, Wyatt, take it away.
Thank you. After the break, we discussed the ASG multiverse. Imagine if I was skinny and weak instead of buff and incredibly strong. Why are you guys laughing? All Systems Go will be right back.